Welcome to the Marriage Boss podcast, and I'm totally pumped today, and I do have a true confession to make. The young lady you are about to meet, I blew her off not once, but twice in previously scheduled appointments to record this podcast. Totally unexplainable. I just forgot. First time I apologized. Please forgive me. She said yes. The second time, I didn't know what I was going to do, but she is here today with us. So thank you, Jen, for coming. As an entrepreneur for 17 years and a spiritual mentor for 7 years, Jen Gilchrist has gone from struggling single mom to a six-figure business owner, making money doing what she loves and empowering others to do the same. She supports messengers to gain clarity with their unique spiritual gifts and message, teaches them strategies that will take their business to the next level of visibility so they make a bigger impact in the world while experiencing new levels of freedom of time, energy, and money in their purpose-driven business. It's Jen's gift and passion to work with coaches, authors, messengers, and speakers to take their soulful message out into the masses so they can create a big impact in the world. Jen, welcome to the Marriage Boss podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we made it.
My goodness, and today we actually were struggling with technical difficulties. So we were just meant to, struggle through and get here. So I am so happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before the show, we were talking a little bit about both of our messages and missions, and I'm so intrigued with your story. You want to share a little bit about how you got here today and like what the whole Jen journey was about?
Yeah, sure. So I've been self-employed single mom for the past 17 years. My daughter's now 22, but I've been self-employed 17 years. And during that time, I had a hair business, and I really loved my job. It was fun. But by the time I got off of work, I was just starting to get exhausted and burnt out, and my mind was just spinning with to-do lists, and I was feeling extremely overwhelmed with trying to manage the day-to-day responsibilities of my being a mom and dealing with clients and managing a business and paying the bills and all of that. And so, I went through that for a long time. That's just sort of the way that it was. I didn't really know that there could be another way. I didn't really have any tools in my toolbox to manage stress, but chocolate and wine tended to be my go-to. And eventually that caught up with me, right? Eventually that just didn't work for me anymore. I kind of got to that point where I hit my rock bottom and realized that I had been through cycles of codependent relationships and, so much drama going on. And it was like I hit this bottom where I just finally knew that life had to be more than this. I really wanted to just be at peace and happy, really. I just really was overwhelmed. And realized that my, drinking wasn't really the way, or eating wasn't really the way to actually help me manage this. So I kind of was at my wit's end, and I prayed. I was like, I just want to be happy and at peace, literally. And at that point, it was really amazing. Like, my grandfather actually came to me in a dream. He had been a guiding force in my life. He died when I was 10. I was in my young 30s at this time. And he literally, I think I finally had just surrendered at some point. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. I just don't even want to do life. And so he came down and he kind of reminded me something in this dream that, I lost that mind-body-spirit connection. And that though there's all this turmoil going on, I actually don't have to do it alone. So he woke up something within me that made me remember that I have spiritual support. And when I woke up, I didn't have all the answers. I was very excited to have had that dream because I'd wanted to dream of him of 20 years and was never able to.
Wow. And
so it felt extremely real and like precious and genuine for me. And when I woke up, I had this overwhelming sense of peace about life. It was kind of like, okay, I don't have all the answers, but I feel hopeful. And so from that moment, it was just like synchronicity started kicking in. At that point, I realized that my cycle of friends and cycle of relationships, they were all, just basically drinking all the time. It's like, after work, let's go get drinks, let's do this. Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to do that anymore. So I kind of was alone that year. I self-read a bazillion books, like every book you could imagine, and was kind of guided into a learning meditation and some skills around that. And when I did that, I started having all these intuitive experiences, all these spiritual experiences of actually hearing my grandparents and recognizing angels and things like this, which just happened almost immediately. And so it was really a profound shift for me to have. And from there, I just continued on with that. I found out that I was a highly sensitive person, which I did not even know that term existed. And that energetic overwhelm was actually affecting a lot of my communication, a lot of my relationships, and a lot of my energy drain. And so through the different skills that I learned through meditation and such, I was able to manage myself in a different way and be much more present and enjoy my life. And from there, I just started on a roll. I mean, 8 years straight, I just started working and realizing that I wanted to help other people. And so I kind of, through that experience, found my purpose in really empowering others to get back to what are they passionate about and what is it that they want to share with the world, and how I could help them make that a reality.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, A, to have an awakening like that and to get a message that was so clear, and then B, even more beautiful, to want to share it with other people. So you know that we love big leaps on this show, and we want to basically help others and give them permission to make a big leap in their own life. What would you say to someone who either hasn't had that awakening yet? They're listening to the show, they're saying, oh my God, I would like to have a dream like that. I would like to see the sign. I want to wake up too and find this thing that I'm looking for, but I can't yet because I didn't feel it or see it. Or so how do you help people who didn't get that clear message yet?
I help them, some of the things that I do, I think part of it is about, when you're so busy in the life, like when you're so busy and you're frantically moving forward and your mind's always going and you're spinning about what I've got to do tomorrow and what I didn't do right yesterday. Yeah. It's like you can't ever be present with what it is you actually even desire. So one of the first things I tell people is start, looking at your schedule and realizing how much time you delegate and give to everybody else. You make an appointment with the doctor's appointment, you make an appointment to pick the kids up from school or with your clients or whatever it is. But make sure that you start putting some appointments for yourself. Where is it that I can start nourishing and fill up your own love cup and start applying those into, if you could, a little bit every day. If you can give yourself 10 minutes a day to start, to give you some you time, I think that's an important step in starting to create some space for actually getting to know yourself, getting to know your desires, getting to know what it is to just be present and enjoying life a little bit more.
Now, how did it work with you? How old was your daughter when you decided, or when you had that dream?
She was 15.
Wow. Okay. So do you think it helped that she was at an age where maybe you could get some free time? Because maybe someone listening today has some younger children, maybe and multiple children. So if they've got 2 or 3 kids, how can they carve out a little me time so that they can slow everything down? I know that in our pre-interview talk, you mentioned slowing down. So I think that is a huge help. But how can somebody get some me time when they're just really feeling like they have to take care of everyone else?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's just an act of self-love. So it starts with a decision. I think that's part of it. You have to just commit to yourself and realize that you need to just do it, whether that means getting up a little bit earlier or whatever, however you need to do that. Maybe you want to get back to the gym and that's fallen to the wayside. Like for me, that's the first thing to go, but it's the one thing that keeps me stable, right? It keeps my energy up and my clarity. So it's about making, I think, a commitment to yourself, but then also delegating. Like one thing I work with my clients on is literally to create time is look at in your business and your personal. I have them jot down a list of things that they really just either don't like doing, that they dread doing, or that can easily maybe offset to a family member or to, whatever they need to do. So kind of write down your personal and your business things that you wish you could hand off to somebody, basically. Okay. And encircle your top 3 stressors or things that would be simple to hand off, and just start seeing how can you start to delegate. I know for me, back when she was younger than that, even probably like 8 years old, I finally got a gardener. I just realized, it's worth the $60 a month, like to buy my weekend back,
Yeah.
And so I just decided that was something I was going to do. And when I did that, now here's the trick, is that you don't fill it back up with another bunch of shoulds that you got to do for everybody else. You got to, at that point, make that commitment to yourself to put in some things for you, whether it's reading a book, going to the gym, connecting with friends.
Yeah, good point, because I know that just like every flat surface gets filled up in the house, work fills the allotted time available for it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it in my own life. We've grown to a point where we don't know how to be idle, and we don't know how to just stop and certainly slow down. Stopping is another level. So that's a great tip. So what would you say to an entrepreneur who is focusing on growing a business, and they say, well, Jen, I can't take some time right now because I got this growing business. And I lost your video. Oh, it's back. Okay. So what would you say to an entrepreneur who was trying to grow a business, and they'd say, Jen, I have this new business I'm trying to build, and I can't slow down and stop right now because I'm right in the middle of building this thing?
I would say that you kind of need to. You have to, because you're not going to be able to build your business from that center point of knowing how you want to build business. When you just start going into mass effort and mass creation, all of a sudden you're going to look around and realize that you've created something that you don't even actually enjoy, or maybe isn't even in alignment with what you actually wanted to, what your initial vision was. So I think it's just, to me, balance and self-care is the essential foundation as an entrepreneur. It's just part of your workday. It can't not be, because you'll end up finding yourself off course. So again, the delegation is huge. For me, when I first launched, and I went from being an in-person business to being an online business, I knew I needed a VA. Like, I knew that I was never going to launch, and I'd be totally freaking out trying to learn this technology, or actually get in the newsletter. I'd be stuck in all this busy work that, for me, it was imperative to just have some support. And so that was a step that I made before I even made any money online, because I knew I would never get online if I didn't do that. So that was one way that I did that as well. But just realizing that you have to have the energy, and taking care of yourself is the way, you're the creator of this whole vision that you have. And if you don't stay inspired about it and in alignment with it, then you're going to find yourself not very happy at the end of the day with what you've created. So it's about creating a lifestyle, I think, with your business as well, for me.
Now, we talked a little bit about angels and spirit and finding these things that are not necessarily seen before the show. How does someone begin to either cultivate an awareness or attract these things from a spiritual sense that we're not used to seeing with our own eyes? And if you're a very logical, conservative person, how do we step into the spiritual realm without feeling like we're stepping off of a cliff and we're just going to give up our logical and reasonable self? And because it is something that is a barrier to those who are not educated about it yet. So tell us how we can become a more spiritual person without feeling like we've gone off some cliff or into some cult somewhere.
Okay, so one thing is, first you got to slow down, right? So some sort of, even if it's 10 minutes in the morning, being outside in nature, taking a walk in the morning, anything that you can do to bring yourself to a balance. I like to even just spend 10 minutes sitting outside, or just kind of breathing and focusing on my body. You got to have a little bit of time for yourself. And then I set my intention, like I ask. You have to ask. I think that's the first thing. It's not about giving up your seniority, and you are the CEO of your life, right? I look at the angels as like, oh, they're your angelic advisors, and they're here to support you and to help guide you, or to help you know when you're off track or in alignment or not. So it's about co-creating your experience with the universe and your spiritual support. So you want to ask and say, hey, usually I'll set my intention. I take a few moments. I just want today to be as effective and in alignment. How can I be of service? How can I enjoy this? How can I be most in alignment with my passion or my purpose? Like, whatever you're working on, set your intention how you want to go, and ask for that support. And then you got to pay attention to the signs. And the signs will come in different ways. For angels in particular, or your intuition, whatever your belief system is, the universe speaks through signs, and you might be able to see them with your physical eyes. Like, sometimes if you notice repetitious signs, like maybe you'll see a sign that's telling you about a particular book or a show, or something like that, and then you might see it in your email again, or you overhear somebody at the bank talking about the same thing. Just start to notice what little signs you're seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling. Those are the main ways that you're going to get that information. So it's repetitious thoughts that might come through visions, through your hearing other people, conversations. I mean, they work through people as well. So just noticing and being present with that. And it does require slowing down, because if you're not slowing down and you're always over into the future, you're going to miss it, because they're always there. So it's about getting present, asking, and then listening, and then committing to what those are. I have a lot of stories where I forgot to commit, and I wonder why it's not happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful feeling when you start to ask, and you're not asking like when we're kids and we're asking hoping someone's going to say yes to us, but you're just asking because it is the act of asking that puts all of this in place. So we don't need a yes or no right then, but we need to be able to ask. And it is a principle, both spiritual and physical, that if we don't ask, we're really not going to get. So I remember when I was a young kid, my mother used to send me into the little store in our town to get bread. So every night, she'd say, "I'm going to pull up, Ricky. Here, I think it was 25 cents. She'd give me a quarter. Go inside and get a loaf of bread." So I'd go in, and because it was like 5 o'clock, 5:30 at night, the counter was filled with people finishing work, getting whatever food. It was a deli, a general store, that type of stuff. So I'd go in, and I'm little, and I'm standing behind all these people, and they're never, the crowd never cleared. So I'd go back out to the car. "Mom, there's a big crowd, and I can't get through it." She'd say, "But you have to push your way in and ask, and say, 'Can I have a loaf of bread?'" And I went back in, and I tried, and I stood, and then I looked for an opening. No openings. Went back out. She's like, "Listen, you got to go in there, and you have to ask. Just open your mouth and say, 'May I have a loaf of bread, please?' and just push your way in." And then I did it, and it was magical. I'll never forget it. I must have been maybe 5 years old. But I realized when I asked, all the adults in front of me heard this little kid's voice in the back, and they all moved out of the way, and they ushered me in, and they brought me to the front of the counter. And so I learned when I asked, not only did they give me what I needed, but others were supporting that. And so it was magical. I didn't know it at the time that it was a watershed moment, but even now today, I'm still asking, and although not waiting for that kind of response, but still asking on all levels, and that's a beautiful point. So thank you for giving us that one. That's probably a golden nugget right there, and it's biblical, right? It's ancient. Ask and you shall receive. But I just think that we're in a world today where we feel like asking is selling and promoting, and just kind of it gets yucky at some points. There's so much asking going on, especially on social media. You could turn on Facebook and you see ask, and you just get tired of it. So we're talking about a different kind of asking here.
Yeah, and I think it's also a form of self-love, and it's great for communications, like asking what you need through delegating, through, "Hey guys, as a family, I need some help with this. I'm thinking over here. Can we work together to take care of some of these things?" It's like about being vulnerable and authentic and expression with your family as well as with the universe. And I think that a lot of women sometimes feel a little bit guilty, or it's like they almost feel bad asking. So sometimes I'll just have my clients actually, when people just practice receiving, because it's an act of receiving, to receive information, receive guidance as well. And sometimes we unknowingly tend to push it off and want to be in control of doing it all ourselves on an unconscious level.
Well, I remember getting to the point where I thought, if I show my sons that I am a person first, just a man like anybody else, not Superman, not amazing man, just a man who happens to be a husband and a dad. And because I remember my father would never let us see, like any weakness or any kind of flaw or failure in him. So let's talk a little bit about how you help. I see you help coaches, authors, messengers, and speakers. So talk a little bit about what you do with other people, because we're talking about our own journey, but now talk about how you can help other people who are listening that want to get this same kind of, get to another level.
Yeah, a lot of what we talked about is part of what we work with, right? The first thing is really just creating a schedule, like putting in self-care, balance, and delegating, like getting yourself some space is an important aspect of what I work on with my clients. Because I think at whatever level you're at, every time it's a new level of figuring out how to make this all work in a way that feels good to you, that isn't giving up of yourself. And so that's one important thing. I work with them a lot on getting clear on the passion, right? Their true desires, their own true desires, and why, like what are they inspired to help the world with? And a lot of times it has to do with their own journey on some level, right? Whatever we've gone through is a part of I believe, a part of our training, in a sense of being able to help give back to the world in a way with our own experience. So I help people use their story in a way to actually inspire and help others, and realize that that's part of their gift and their genius. I work with them to really open up to their own intuition and spiritual gifts, because for me, working with the angels and really having that clear communication with myself and with the spiritual support that is there for you, that leverages your time immensely. And it allows you to really know and trust the course of actions to take, because there's constant stretches of comfort zone that you're going to hit as an entrepreneur, and visibility fears and blocks and otherwise. And if you can't come back into the center and work through that and know that you're not alone to like find the steps to navigate through the fog at times, then it can be very uncomfortable, and people will tend to stop. So I help them work through any of those things that come up. And then really right now I'm working on a project where I'm excited to notice that a lot of my people are ready to, like, they know they have a book inside of them. They know they're meant to speak on bigger stages, and that is a whole nother level of visibility fears that might come up around expressing themselves authentically. So I help them work through that so that they can actually embody their presence, have the confidence, and know how and what they're expressing clearly in their message to their people, so that they can really make it.
I think one of the greatest gifts is when we recognize that this thing we might have studied or worked in for 20 years is not the only thing that we have inside of us. And then the second part is when we decide that we're going to either say something or do something creatively and expressively to bring a message out to the world. I call it finding your own true voice. And the name of this podcast was going to be Find Your Own True Voice. I actually got the domain name, and then I decided to name it The Marriage Boss. But a lot of my shows, if you go back and listen to them, they're all about finding your own true voice and making that big leap. And so I remember in my life what life was like before I knew that I had these spiritual guides and these energies that would guide me. I know once I realized that I didn't need any living person's permission anymore.
Right.
I didn't need validation from any audience or crowd or spouse or boss or customer to say you're good and you're doing the right thing. And then when you walk that journey that way, that kind of spiritual, and whether it's angelic, whether it's energy, whether it's universe, that kind of support is unconditional. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. It's all the time. And it's just a delicious way to live. It's the best way I can put it, is it just makes life so much easier. Because if you think about seeking approval, it's just, my God, it starts when we're born, if not before. And then you just, you're going to get sometimes you're not. You could run into a stretch where you get none. And so we have to be able to find ways. And I love this method that you're giving. And if we can tune into it, man, it is powerful.
Yeah, I mean, one quick way that I start a quick meditation that's a little easy to give your viewers, that I give my clients, I created a TLC body meditation, and it's a quick acronym: talk, listen, commit. And so even if you just spend 5 minutes a day, feet flat on the ground, put your hand on your heart or your belly and take a few deep breaths, and just start there, noticing your breath, like becoming aware of your body, becoming aware of like, oh, I didn't even know that this was tense over here because I've just been going, So it's about slowing down and just being present, and then talk to your body, talk to your, to your soul, if you will. And then you got to listen. So I think so many of us are so busy and like asking or sending out our intentions and our requests or whatever, and then we forget to slow down, and we're off for the day, and then we don't listen. So it's about taking a few minutes to listen and then commit to those needs. And through that experience, I mean, it's helped me guide, like you said, in your relationships, your day-to-day, like just to know where to park quickly, how to get in the fastest line. Like all the little things are in sync all the time to where your daily life is less stressful. But on the other side, from my business sense, you're always going to hit stretches of comfort zone. Like you say, take big leaps. And I've literally invested in $22,000 business investments, not by my mind, because my mind was giving me plenty of logical reasons of why no, you can't do this, and how's that going to work out? And if I would listen to that, I wouldn't be where I am. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to take risks, and I'm not saying reckless risks, but you have to be able to go through the fear of whatever your comfort zone stretches are, because you're going to hit your edge a lot. And if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to slow yourself down and play it a lot smaller than you want to do, or than you could be playing in that way. So I would just say that when you have that backing you have that confidence just from the day-to-day communication, it allows you to take large leaps of faith. But it just starts with the little day stuff that might seem simple.
I got 100% the talk part and the listen part. Can you clarify and just give us a little boost on the commit part?
commit, you got to take the action. So whatever comes to mind, like sometimes, like, so you'll listen to your body, like, what do I need to do to have the energy to complete this project, or what's going to be what's the most, like, I like to start my day with just listening and asking, like, let bubble up an inspired action list, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, I have this to-do list, and then just feel overwhelmed and not get it done, right? Mm-hmm. I'll start my day and just asking, what's the top 3 things that would most serve me in my business today, and then I'll let that bubble up, and I just take the committed action. Or maybe for me, one time, like, I'll come back to spiritual growth. So C is just commitment, take the action. I was wanting to know my purpose. Like, what's my purpose? I want my clairvoyance to open. Like, it was like on this space. And all I kept feeling was this repetitive thought. This is how it comes, repetitious thoughts and ideas, the divine guidance, was to eat more organic food, right? Like, I should be eating more organic food. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know that's healthy, whatever. And I'm thinking that I should. But over a few months, and then finally, I was like attuned to the angels, but I was obviously not getting this one message because I didn't totally do it, but I knew I should. Well, one of these days I went into Barnes & Nobles, and it was definitely, at this point I was pretty clear on my angels, and I could tell Archangel Raphael was like, go into Barnes & Nobles. I'm like, all right, well, make it quick because I don't have a lot of time, so show me what I need to see. And I went in, went right to one particular book. I felt to open to page 55, and it was like, oh, as a highly sensitive person, you need to have, pesticides and chemicals in your body will block your intuition and make it difficult for you to, connect with your body. So for me, sometimes the steps aren't always logical. And a lot of times when you talk, listen, commit, it will say, slow down, take a play day, drink more water, go to the gym, take a stretch break. Wow. What does your body need? And commit to those body's needs. And if you don't take the committed action, then your life doesn't get better. It's not like you don't get the spiritual help anymore, but the sooner that you can attune to like listening, then the more quickly you'll get things done. And actually, people say, I don't have time, but there's been times where I've tried to push through a lunch and get this thing created, and I know that I was supposed to be taking a play day, and I'm like, I don't have a play day, I've got to do this in 3 days, Yeah. And then I finally couldn't get anything done, and I did the play day, and on the way home, the entire thing just dropped into my lap because I gave my space for the creativity to come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So specifically committing, I think that is, I know for me, the taking of the action and the committing and the completion is always a hard step. So give us some more examples of committing and what taking the action looks like in these various areas.
Well, it's just, for me, it's connecting with my body every single morning, right? And so I commit, and I do that little meditation with myself. I mean, it's something that I do. And I listen to what my body's needs are. And oftentimes...
Okay, so stop right there. So if someone listening wants to do a 5-minute meditation, it's going to be like medication. If you do your meditation, it'll be like medication. So if someone wants to take that 5 minutes out and they just keep forgetting, so like they did it once this week, 6 days went by and they forgot. What are some tools that they can use to make this happen? Because I know in my own life, we can, especially as entrepreneurs, if we have total freedom, sometimes we don't have to go to an office, or we don't have a boss or something telling us where to be. A whole day can go by and I didn't do any of those things that I had intended. So how can you help someone commit when they're just either forgetting, or they're willy-nilly, or they're not a planner, or they just, I forgot, Jen.
Okay, so for me, I mean, that's sometimes where accountability comes in, where coaches and mentors and personal trainers or whoever it is, like, they keep you accountable. So sometimes accountability structure is helpful, but on a day-to-day, for me, I literally have it in my calendar. Like, I put it in my calendar, and it's on repeat. Right. Meditate and journal. It's like I have to put it in. Does it happen every single time? No, but it's a constant reminder. I put a post-it. You could put a post-it up right by your nightstand where you can see it and remember. 5 minutes in the morning, or like I do a gratitude journal in the evening, right?
Okay.
So whatever you want to have your ritual, I would say set a specific time helps to create a habit, and just know that it takes a few weeks to actually create a habit. So you might want to do whatever you need to do, whether it's set an alarm on your phone, put it on your calendar, post it in your office.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's very good, because now we have some little helpers. If you're listening and you have a calendar, use that. If you like to set the alarm, do that. If you like to use a Post-it, do that. So that's great. What I do is I'll put a note on my phone on the charger. That's the first thing I'm going to see when I go to get the phone to go leave for the day, or on my wallet. So like those are the two places that I can always count on. And then of course, yes, if you put it in a calendar and that comes up. So that's a great tip. And then committing to whatever it is. So tell us now, in closing, what is going on in your world right now? I know you've got, the site is empoweredwomansleadership.com, and it's womans, WOMANS. So empoweredwomansleadership.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And I think you have a free gift for our audience, right?
I do. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to really align more with your unique soul gifts, and I have my 7 secrets to soul success that will really help you stay in alignment with that and start to open up to your own intuition. I do have some angel messages in there as well that I work through on some videos, and that's empoweredwomansleadership.com/soul gift.
Okay.
But I have another gift that actually I could give you that seems like, based on our conversation, might be exciting for them. If you're interested in learning more about like the TLC body meditation or how the angels speak to you, I have a training in another free gift link called the Blissful PDF. I can give you that, the Blissful Essential Steps to Blissful Living or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And it actually has a whole meditation they could follow, like a 20-minute meditation that you can actually sit down with in a video training, and that actually might help you to just have that to listen to in the morning to start as well.
Yeah, it sounds great, and that sounds like a good start. And tell us about some of your programs. I know you have another link on the site to programs. Tell us what programs you have.
Well, I have some that on the site there. There is some reclaim energy and inspiration in your business, right?
Okay.
So it's about really connecting with your passion and some of these similar things that we talked about in there. It's a 6-week online program at that point, and you do get to be invited to our Facebook group as well to have some daily community and support. 'Cause I know it can be a little lonely as an entrepreneur, and especially when you're kind of feeling like, sometimes this is a stretch for people, and not everybody in your family is going to get it. And so it's nice to have that validation. And so the community that I have online at Enlightened Entrepreneurs with Jennifer Gilchrist on Facebook is, we really create our business from a soul-driven place. We talk about and celebrate one another's successes. We really communicate about miracles, and we know that we're creators of our experience. And so we share those types of things within that forum. So it's a safe place to explore that level of spirituality and business as well. And of course, I do work one-on-one with people, and you can always just reach out to me personally for that. We can always have a chat just to see how I might be able to support you. I offer 45-minute soul success clarity sessions for free that explore all the opportunities that we have going. Yeah.
Well, I love the work you're doing, and as I mentioned, I owe you one big time for forgiving me and coming on the show. So I'm so glad that you did, because this was great, and I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better, and look forward to all our connections in the future.
Yes, I do indeed. I appreciate all the work you're doing in the world too. Conscious marriage is just a really amazing stuff, and I'm really excited that you've got all the men in your audience as well as the women. So that's exciting to me.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. Thank you.